innocent people.
Welcome, everyone, to Progressive Piranhas. This is a special edition of Progressive Discussions, Hard-Hitting Truth. I'm your host, James Piranha Madonna, and I'm with my co-host, the one and only Damien the Wolf Owens. How are you doing, sir? This Ishtar, the Babylonian fertility goddess Ishtar Sunday.
I'm doing pretty good. Weather's been all over the place here in Tennessee. Some days it's up in the 70s with some beautiful clouds in the sky and just a day to where you just want to go out and just enjoy. Then it's been fluctuating to where it's like cold and rainy like it is now, where it's in like the 50s and 60s, and then stuff's blooming. So if you have allergies, not the coronavirus, but allergies, it'd be driving you nuts. So the fact that we're getting some rain and some storms and it's clearing out the air, my sinuses are gratefully thanking Mother Nature for at least giving a break in that.
Yeah,
That I'm doing all right.
The allergy season this year is bad. As though we didn't need it any worse than it is for this year. But the allergy season is bad. But I'm going to start off by well, let's put it this way: the mainstream media. The mainstream American media. They love to give you the headline news that is pure negativity, and they don't tell you the whole entire story. Now, from what I gather, all right, when I first heard about it, I wasn't shocked. I wasn't in mourning. I was very angry, but then later on I learned a little bit more about it. Now, of course, the flag waving right-wing asshole pieces of shit just ate it up alive, and they just love hearing this news. But there's more to it. But the news media, being that they're controlled by the oligarch, that they're oligarch puppets like the DNC and the scrawny little weasel Tom Perez, oligarch puppets. They will not tell you the entire story. All right, this is what happened. When I first heard about it, I said, oh, that Raisin Balls, Bernie Sanders, the only Democratic socialist that we have that ran again, after 2016, he ran in 2020. The guy had a tremendous momentum. He was on a roll. He had legions of people again showing up at his rallies. That old geezer, damn it, he capitulated and he dropped out of the 2020 race to appease the DNC's neoliberal Joe Biden supporters and Joe Biden, and he acted paranoid about how we can't allow Donald Trump to get reelected. Oh, same thing with 2016. Oh, we're getting behind Hillary Clinton, the Medusa herself. We can't allow a man like Donald Trump to get elected. Well, guess what? He got elected, and if you get behind senile, closet pedophile, corporate whore, just like Barack Obama, who he rode his coattails. He rode his coattails for 8 years, and this year Joe Biden continued to ride Barack Obama's coattails. Why? Because he was the first black president elected. Well, guess what? Barack Obama is also a corporate whore, like the rest of the Democratic Party and the DNC. So everybody's like, including me, I'm that traitor. Oh, that dirty, rotten traitor. Oh man, in my neighborhood, traitors get their legs broken. That son of a bitch. He turned down all the people, all the millennials, all the people that showed up at his rally, all the campaign contributors. He turned them all down. He disappointed everyone again. That's pretty much what you heard from the news. Now, what he's doing is he's leaving himself on the ballot to see how far to the left Joe Biden goes in order to earn Bernie Sanders supporters. He says he's not letting Joe Biden off the hook so easily. He's negotiating to see how far to the left is Joe Biden willing to go to be worthy of Bernie Sanders telling his supporters, we need to get behind Joe Biden, because Joe Biden is not to the left. Joe Biden is a centrist corporate whore. I mean, James Perron Madonna tells it like it is. The famous Dr. Gary Null told me that I should raise the bar and use better language. No. These are adult professionals that are supposed to be our public servants. They know what they're doing. And the reason why Dr. Gary Null scolded me, because guy's been on the radio forever, is because Oprah Winfrey was promoting non-GMO organic foods for so long, and then all of a sudden she started kowtowing to Monsanto and all their toxic crap. So I called her a corporate whore, and Dr. Gary Null didn't appreciate it. Now, considering the fact, getting back to Bernie Sanders, Raisin Balls. From now on, he's Raisin Balls. He's been demoted by me. Raisin Balls Sanders. I got heat for calling him that, but I don't give a shit. All right, he's keeping himself on the ballot. He says he's going to keep himself on the ballot until November, which I'm happy because I'm not voting for Joe Biden. So if Bernie Sanders keeps himself on the ballot as an independent, which he has to, because if sleepy, senile, pedophile Joe Biden gets the nomination from the corrupt DNC, you know, then he is going to represent the Democrat Party. So Bernie Sanders has to go back to being an independent again. So he is going to test Joe Biden to see how far to the left is he willing to go. So he's keeping himself on the ballot, old raisin balls Sanders, because you really do have raisin balls. You know, you're a pussy. Because if it was me, I wouldn't cave. I'll sink my piranha teeth right, I swear to God, into a million necks. And Damien Owens will sink his wolf canines after he howls at the moon into a lot of necks. One jugular vein for the piranha teeth and the other jugular vein for the wolf. Okay? This is so, to be fair to old raisin balls, he is testing Joe Biden. I don't trust Joe Biden. But then again, I think Joe Biden really does have some physical health issues, because when he talks, he's all over the place. He chops up his sentences. He talks about one subject and he quickly jumps to another. He doesn't finish his sentences, and he's like, like somebody with early stage dementia. Now, it sounds like that. A lot of progressives that have talk shows on the internet that are not as super dynamic as us, that they don't have pizzazz and charisma. There's one called The Humanist something or other. He's got 1 million every day. He's got video progressive media programs on Facebook. He's all over the place, but he's like really like a Momo. He's like really dry. He's he very soft spoken. He makes Mr. Rogers look like freaking Mike Tyson. That's how like mild mannered this guy is. He's not like us. Forget it. We take no prisoners. So this is the deal. Raisin Ball Sanders is testing Biden by keeping himself on the ballot. And I do have to give Raisin Balls Bernie Sanders a lot of credit for doing that, because his balls might not be as shriveled as I originally thought if he's keeping himself on the ballot. Now, on the other hand, if he pulls himself off the ballot before November, then he's a no good stinking traitor, and he's not a real progressive, and he's not a real democratic socialist. He's an old geezer that's afraid of his own shadow. I'm just saying this ahead of time because that's what I'm going to call him. Now, if he keeps himself on the ballot and he tests Biden, great. All right. Well, he is too friendly. I would have been a lot tougher, but he's keeping himself on the ballot to test out senile Biden, the guy who likes to inhale young girls' scalps. The Dems might replace Sleepy Joe with Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo is a great prospect. I'm not going to lie to you. I like Andrew Cuomo, but he's a little too much to the center for me. I want a real socialist. That's why I like the organization called the Democratic Socialists of America, even though they don't allow anybody to post anything on their pages, the rat bastards. I can't post anything. They're in control, like the Outer Limits show. We're in total control. I hate that when people do that. And then there's people that won't let you share their material. But anyway, I forgive him for that. But now let's see what happens. Sanders claims he's going to keep himself on the ballot. So now we are going to Damien the Wolf Owens and his educational lecture about the conspiracy theory known as 5G and other things that are going through Damien Owens' mind. Take it away, Damien Owens. The wolf.
All right. Okay, so 5G. 5G is really being talked about on social media, and it's being talked about in the news to a certain extent. So it seems like liberal and conservative media alike are dismissing conspiracy theories about it. Like any information about 5G that could potentially raise a real issue or something that could actually be something that warrants looking at it further about this technology is immediately being looked at as some kind of conspiracy theorist and a nut job. Well, let's go ahead and get something cleared up right from the no evidence whatsoever. It is only a conspiracy theory. And here's an example. If you purchase a raffle ticket, you could win a prize. So that brings it to a quantitative. So it does become possible that you could win said prize. Well, if you purchase more raffle tickets, then that quantitative breaks out into a qualitative change, meaning that goes from a possibility to more probabilities of you winning. But even if you don't purchase one, the win is still in the realm of possibilities, meaning it's still theoretical. So again, there is no evidence, it's only a conspiracy theory. But if there is some evidence presented, even if it's circumstantial, flimsy, there may be a questionability about where the source comes from, this, that, what have you, it becomes a possibility. So first, I wanted to just say, yes, it was only a conspiracy theory. But once I looked at this conspiracy theory and actually looked at it and analyzed it more, I'm convinced that it's not just a conspiracy theory, but there definitely is something about 5G. And what gave me the big tip off was whenever you had told me about Sam Hunt and her posting the videos about coronavirus and 5G, that Facebook and YouTube alike decided to go ahead and remove the videos. Okay, well, if you look on Facebook and YouTube, it seems like the more of like mindless bullshit or just outright lies and deception, the more they want it. But then yet the more truthful something is and does not necessarily go along with what they're trying to push, then they don't want it and they get rid of it off of their websites. So now that we've gotten all out of the way, we're going to go ahead and dive right in about 5G. Okay, so 5G is the new form of technology in terms of cellular service that is out there. Now, 5G does not really stand for anything. It just stands for it's the fifth generation of cellular technology. Now, there are certain types of 5G which could actually pose potential risks to the public's health. And that's specifically in something called high band 5G. Now, low band to medium band 5G does not really pose a adverse health risk to the public. But where 5G is especially dangerous is it operates on a different millimeter frequency as compared to like 3G or 4G. It operates on a whole entire wavelength altogether. Now, it's not as powerful as like 3G or 4G, to where you have these big cellular towers to where you can have like one cellular tower within X amount of distance where you get the great cell reception. I think like the closest cell tower here out where I live is up on Bays Mountain, and that's why we get some relatively good service out here, but sometimes it can be spotty in other areas, but yet I digress. So what separates 5G from that is it operates on a different wavelength, and you have to put these 5G towers in very close proximity to where it is you're trying to get the service. Meaning you're going to have all of these towers all over the place. And there's going to come a point to where whenever this actually launches and it becomes the new norm, you're going to see these towers pop up all over the place. Now, what is really causing concern about 5G in the high band is how much output of radiation that it outputs with these particular towers. Now, there are two different types of radiation. There's ionizing and non-ionizing radiation. Well, non-ionizing is not necessarily 100% harmless, but in comparison to ionizing radiation, it is definitely still something that should be looked at before we actually launch and say, okay, despite the fact that there is a difference in radiation and this is non-ionizing, what really is the cost to benefit ratio of actually rolling out this technology in this format like they're proposing? And although so many people are so quick to dismiss it as, oh, it's harmless, it's this and that, okay, well, it should be noted that it really was not 100% thoroughly tested before it was rolled out. And there was supposed to be a huge push to test this in the city of Brussels, and yet, due to major public concern, the test never happened. Okay, they didn't do this with 3G, they didn't do this with 4G, but with 5G, it's causing concern because of the exposure of radiation and how these are supposed to be in such close proximity to each other, and yet there's going to come a point where these damn things are going to be all over the place, and then you're going to be bombarded with radiation, much worse than what is considered safe levels. Now, that is a genuine cause of concern because I don't know about you, but I don't want to be exposed to unhealthy amounts of radiation, which all these in proximity to each other, and as much power as going to be drawing, it is going to be a cause of concern. Whether it's ionizing or non-ionizing or not, that part's really irrelevant. Radiation is not 100% safe no matter how you want to look at it in this amount that it's going to be presented itself. Now, it does have the benefit of allowing, faster cellular service, as in, faster download speeds, higher data rate transfers, but however cool that might sound, and then talking about the radiation, what also is making this alarming is people are destroying these towers. Now, even if you're not a conspiracy theorist at all and you don't entertain these kind of ideas, that should at least be making you raise your eyebrows and scratching your chin going, people are destroying these cellular towers. This is not normal. What is causing this behavior? And people are so quick to dismiss that, oh, it's just fear-mongering. But yet, another theory that is growing out of everything I talk about is 5G an actual weapon? Is it a technological weapon? Well, the technology in itself is not inherently a weapon, but it can be weaponized, and here's how it can be weaponized. Because of the certain frequencies that it does operate on, it also has a tendency to mess with harmonic frequencies that is not only here on planet Earth, but is also in your body and also the rest of the universe. So, how this could be weaponized, it could actually affect harmonic balances, not only in the human body, but also the external environment. Now, if you don't know what this familiar term is called, it's called harmonic sympathy. So, they're saying that it can actually cause mind control. Well, it's not necessarily causing mind control, as in it's planning thoughts through telepathy to make people do certain things, but it does have the capabilities of indirect mind control by affecting harmonic frequencies called harmonic sympathy. And the Department of Defense actually released a declassified, heavily redacted document about this in 1967 that by using certain frequencies in the external environment to affect human beings and also the external environment itself, it can cause a variety of different human reactions and emotions. So what it could do is it can induce certain emotions that they want, like fear, hysteria, extreme happiness, extreme sadness, depression, rage, anger, etc. So, taking all this into account, that it is going to be causing a spike in radiation exposure, although non-ionizing, but still an increased exposure to radiation is a genuine concern. and then seeing how this could actually be potentially weaponized to cause human behaviors in a variety of different forms, then you have to also consider the last point. And then this is all that I can really gather for right now is, what does the coronavirus have to do with 5G? Because that seems to be more what people are talking about now, is 5G and the coronavirus have some kind of connection. And I can see why people are thinking that. Anything coronavirus related or anything 5G is being taken down massively. If it doesn't fit the mode of what they're trying to push, they're getting rid of it, which indicates there's something going on. So if you're being exposed to radiation, is it possible that radiation sickness could actually cause certain symptoms and can mimic other things? Well, to my surprise, and actually looking up documented medical information, the answer is yes, it actually can. So, depending upon how much exposure you have to radiation, you can have no symptoms all the way up to extremely fatal symptoms like death. So you could have no symptoms whatsoever, meaning asymptomatic. You could have very mild, like maybe a cough, maybe a slight fever, runny nose, all the way up to something like death. But then, yet, if it's not so fatal to where it causes death, it can actually mimic other flu like symptoms like um, upper respiratory infection, to where basically your lungs fill up with fluid because it's activating the body's defense mechanism as if there is a foreign invader trying to attack your immune system. It can cause fever spikes. It can cause nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, hair loss. You name it, if it's some kind of adverse health effect, it can be caused by radiation sickness. So, is it possible that just maybe that this coronavirus is a radiation outbreak because they want to suppress this information from the public? That I'm not going to definitively say that yes, it is, but it is definitely going to make one wonder, is this virus really just the after effect of this toxic environment that we live in, on top of being exposed to new levels of radiation because of this new technology? You be the judge. But it is definitely eyebrow raising, and it is definitely concerning to where you have to scratch your chin and wonder, maybe, just maybe, there is something here, which would make sense considering that the more lies and bullshit and deception that there is out there, the more Facebook and YouTube want it, but the more truthful something is, the less they want it and the more they try to get rid of it. So that's my take on it. I'm not 100% sold, but there is definitely something out there that obviously mainstream media and everyone else trying to push this coronavirus agenda do not want to be known.
Okay. Outstanding take on the 5G conspiracy theory by Damien the Wolf Owens. Excellent job. There is obviously much more to be studied as time goes by. We shall see what pops up, what evidence reaches the surface, and then as the evidence comes in, if there's enough to talk about, you can bring it up. But radiation sickness is exactly what you described. It is, and the people in Wuhan province, China, were destroying the 5G towers. And when I asked my friend in Shanghai, she said, yes, they were doing that. An interesting coincidence. People in Wuhan, China, taking it upon themselves to vandalize 5G towers.
Hmm. Definitely makes you raise your eyebrows and scratch your chin.
Yeah,
Curious.
and another eyebrow raiser is when the supposed coronavirus um, left Asia, left China, and made its appearance in the state of Washington. Why didn't they just do a lockdown on the state of Washington and stop all plane flights? And I'm not sure if there was a cruise ship that docked in the state of Washington, but I know there was a nursing home involved. They should have did a lockdown on the state of Washington, and they should have kept their eye on any activity in terms of plane flights coming out of Europe, like for instance Italy, and 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 put a freeze on travel coming from there. But I think the first time I heard of this pandemic outside of China was the state of Washington. Oh, I'm sorry, South Korea. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was South Korea who by the way did an outstanding job handling the situation, from what I hear. Singapore and South Korea and the government of mainland China did outstanding jobs in yeah, you know, all those construction workers that built those two new hospitals in Wuhan province, that was all volunteer work from
Right.
from construction workers from different provinces of China. That was all volunteer. Now everything's under control in Asia. Life is back to normal, but not so in the United States.
Right. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I do want to clarify some information that has not been 100% true as presented by our media. Yeah, there were lockdowns and quarantines in China, but then yet only in certain parts. The lockdown was not 100% mandatory across the whole mainland. It was only in little pockets here and there. Now, the social distancing was only enforced to a certain point, only in certain areas. It was not 100% draconian like people wanted to make it out to be. You know, the biggest thing they really did to try to get ahead, and that really seemed to have really done anything if this whole entire thing was real, which I'm still not convinced it was just by going out and cleaning and sanitizing things and making sure people adhere to a sanitary code when they were out, like making sure that they showered, brushed their teeth, washed their hands, doing things that you're supposed to be already doing anyway. And that really did more to get this under control. Now, I'm glad you also brought that up because you would think China, well over a billion people, everything about China is terrible. It's shit. And the fact that they've gone back to work and they've gone back to school with either no restrictions, some restrictions, or heavy restrictions should also indicate, are you sure there wasn't just plain fear and hysteria all along about all of this? Because if we were to actually entertain with what they're saying is true, that this virus is so deadly, no way in hell would China have even made this drastic of a leap. And from what I hear, there's not another outbreak. They're picking the pieces back up and just resuming life as normal. So, with all of that being taken into account, it also does make you have to kind of scratch your head and go, wait a minute. China is way behind the US in a lot of different things. They have way more people, and yet they're already back to school and back to work, despite the fact that the social distancing was not really strictly enforced. The lockdowns were only in certain areas, and they're already back to work. Wait a minute. Something's just not adding up here.
Yeah,
Something's fucky.
yeah, and the people are back in the restaurants in Shanghai with no masks on. I mean, this is what my friend is telling me. Shirley, she's telling me, yeah, the restaurants are full of patrons. The excuse me, the kids are back in school. And people are walking in the park with smiles on it, riding their bicycles in the parks in China. I mean, and we haven't heard anything about Northern Italy from the U.S. media, by the way. You know, because the last thing I heard weeks ago was that the curve is really flattening nice in Northern Italy. And then I heard that in Northern Italy, most of the people who died were elderly with pre-existing illnesses, and that there's an air pollution problem also in Northern Italy, similar to Beijing, China, air pollution. But like you said, washing your hands with a bar of old-fashioned soap for 20 seconds is basic hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I was told when I was in hygiene class in high school. You know, we had a class that was attached to gym. It was called hygiene. And yeah, I mean, you know, it's just basic sanitation guidelines. Uh, um, if somebody has something and you're 6 feet away from them, regardless what they have, if it's infectious, they're going to expel droplets and micro droplets, which are called aerosols, which kind of linger in the air a little bit, and then gravity causes them to drop.
Right.
If you're 6 feet away from someone that has something, and there's a lot of somethings on the planet Earth, then you're okay. So thinking about what you said before about following basic sanitation guidelines and sanitizing your hands properly. And of course, if someone has anything infectious and you have like what I do, fold a bandana in half and tie it around your head, and now you got 2 pieces of cotton cloth, 2 plies of cotton in front of your nose and your mouth. Well, if you have any droplets or they have any droplets, it's not going to get into your system. So, you know, following basic guidelines and the fact that we are still in the influenza season, and influenza is nothing to sneeze at, no pun intended. I don't have my belt with me, but no pun intended. You know, taking all this into account, there is a percentage of stuff that normally happens every year anyway, concerning obese people with pre-existing conditions, elderly people with pre-existing conditions, a young person with pre-existing conditions that, like, a couple of them one had asthma. I mean, you know, hey man, my sister has asthma. It's scary to not be able to breathe and have to go get your inhaler with steroid. It's like a steroid drug that you get prescribed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, to gasp for air is a scary thing. So, but you know what's amazing is that in the U.S. media, when it comes to this country, the United States, it's pure gloom and doom.
Right.
Pure. You don't hear about the hundreds of thousands of people that are recovering. You only hear about the people that have succumbed to the illness.
Right.
I had to say succumb. I couldn't say debts because then you're going to get on my case about my accent.
No,
Yeah.
I wasn't doing that to bust your balls because it's just I don't know if it was just the way that the microphone picked up the way you were talking, or it could be your accent, but
Well,
I just wanted to kind of specify.
I could say two Utes, like my cousin Vinny, two Utes. Or what else was that? Oh, no self-respecting Southerner would ever eat instant grits. We takes pride in our grits.
Yeah,
That
I
kind
don't like grits. I don't like grits anyway. I mean, I've had them. I don't
I
like them.
like them. You don't like
No, I don't like them.
them? Okay. Listen. Speaking of grits and Southerners, you know what's coming up?
Yeah, I know exactly what's coming up.
The Confederacy Part 5. Believe it or not, by Damien the Wolf Owens. Part 5 is coming up.
All right.
So if you want to have a swig of something refreshing before you start, or you want to go get a beer or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I'll save that for after the Confederacy lecture. But so part 5. This one is going to be a little different as compared to the other videos that I've done with this. So we've gone over just a basic overview about the Confederacy, its economics, its society, the way it was structured, how even for its time it was backward, but that in reality the war could have been avoided at that time, but eventually there would have been another civil war that would have broken out in America later on, that would have broken out probably sometime in the 20th century. And that's what this one is going to be about. The avoidance of the Civil War in the 19th century, but yet what has still happened in the 20th century. So I know our president, former president James Buchanan, goes down in history as one of the worst presidents for his do nothing attitude and just letting things go wherever they may go in terms of the relationship between the Union and the Confederacy. Well, in reality, I think that should have actually gone to Lincoln rather than Buchanan, because Lincoln made this war happen. And this war could have been avoided because there were sentiments, not only in the North, in the South, that did not want the Civil War. There was actually a lot of sentiment that if the two countries wanted to just be two separate countries, fine, whatever. But it really was not worth fighting the war over. Now, following this alternate timeline to where the Civil War wouldn't have happened in the 19th century, to where the CSA would have developed along its own historical path, and the Union would have developed along its historical path. So I can see that in this timeline, the Confederacy would have they would have gone along their own path, and they would have developed into a independent, self-reliant country of their own with the help of France and Great Britain because of their main export, cotton. But to make sure that they were in tune with the times, they would have put extreme pressure on the Confederacy to have gotten rid of slavery and gotten rid of the what have been considered backwardness in its social and economic system at the time, to where they would have said, okay, get rid of slavery, but still, pay these people a wage to get with the times, to try to be moral and ethical, which in reality, when it came to that, did morals and ethics really apply to these people? No. And if you think so, then you're not only just full of shit, you're bullshitting yourself and other people. So the Confederacy develops along its own path with its main export of cotton. Slavery is abolished, but then yet it gets all of its influence from Great Britain and France at the time, and it generates a lot of wealth for the Confederate economy, and their society develops from its backwardness in its own particular way, but it doesn't necessarily get rid of the inherent sexism and racism that there was so blatantly in their society and their economics. which that would have perpetuated throughout the 1860s, the 1870s, 1880s, 1890s, until the 1900s. Now, we're going to go into the 20th century, the 19 teens, into the 1920s. So at this point, the Confederacy is its own independent, self-reliant nation. Same thing with the Union of the United States. Now, both have grown and have expanded into other territories to where, what were the original states of the Union and the original states of the Confederacy are more than what they were in the original timeline. Now, at this point, the United States of America is divided into two nations, but they're also very capitalistic nations, but also imperialist in their own way. So now at this point, two countries now competing for their own interests go to war. So at this point, the Civil War breaks out between the United States and the Confederacy. But instead of it being over the issue of slavery, it is now the issue of imperialism and two competing countries trying to gain dominance over the other. But the Confederacy is at a little bit of a disadvantage. So, yes, they've gotten rid of slavery, but that didn't really fix the inherent sexism or racism issues that were so blatant in the society, the way it was structured, and also its economic system, that now minorities, particularly African Americans, are having an extreme hatred and distrust for the Confederacy, and the ideas of socialism and communism are fueling the African American minorities and other minorities in the Confederacy to where they're starting their own insurrections and they are fighting against the Confederate government. So now at this point, they're having to deal with minority insurrectionists because the ideas of socialism and communism finally taking root in some part of America on a drastic scale. And then it's also having to fight the Union of the United States to compete with its factions. So now at this point, the Confederacy has to turn inherently fascistic in order to quell any rebellions and restore law and order. Now, seeing that the Union is developing along its own path and now sees that the Confederacy is weak, it now tries to push its way in to reunify the country. And that does not go over very well. So if you think that the way the Civil War happened on this timeline was bad, it would have been much worse in this alternate timeline, because now modern warfare, along with the advancements of technology, it basically happens on a warfare scale of the atrocities and the death count of the way it was in World War I, where modern technology and modern warfare combined with the old ways of fighting war, it just turns into a complete bloodbath. So who wins is really yet to be determined in this section, because it's all going to be about who can ultimately gain the most ground and who can be more brutal and can actually cause the most deaths on the other side as compared to the other as to who wins the war. So now the Confederacy is in a world of shit on two fronts, and now the Union is turning imperialistic to assert their dominance over the Confederacy. Now the Confederacy is doing it not only domestically but internationally as well. So things are just not looking good no matter how you want to present this or spin this. So whether or not it would have actually led to a stalemate, or really whether one side or another would have really won, is really yet to be determined in this alternate timeline. I'm still doing some research on it, but in conclusion, there was going to be a civil war no matter what. It's just it would have been it could have been avoided at that particular time, and actually having a civil war in the 20th century as compared to the 19th century would have had way more influence, because, as I was saying, the ideas of socialism and communism taking hold in an actual real stronghold in America, it actually really went to a minority to where they really understood more of class oppression as compared to what we have now, where it's just, oh, blame white people. It's all white people's problem as to why we have these problems that we're facing today. So it would have definitely taken hold in a much different sense. And what would America been like now had it followed the alternate timeline? It's really anyone's guess. And I'll save that conclusion for the final series, the conclusion, the outcome of the Confederacy and its final fate. Did it survive, or did it fail and become incorporated as one whole nation of the United States of America? That will be the last video.
Okay, the last one, yeah, because it can't go on forever. I mean, the series. So the Confederacy Part 6 would most likely be the conclusion.
It will be
of the series. Now, my hunch was that there was always back then in the 19th century an economic deprivation concerning the Confederacy, because the United States government only kept agriculture industry in the southern states and not any other form of industry.
Mm-hmm.
It was predominantly cotton plantations.
Oh yeah.
And other agriculture that the United States government that Washington only allowed that in the southern states, and all the other industries were in the northern states. So the economic deprivation was present, but of course the neoliberals and all the pandering people of the Democratic Party would say, "Oh no, it's over slavery. It's over slavery." No, there was an economic factor. I think there was a strong economics factor involved in that. So anyway, so the conclusion of the Confederacy will be Part 6, when Part 6 has enough information to the specifications of Damien the Wolf Owens. Now, let me have a drink, because now the fun stuff starts.
Yeah, the tarot reading, the state of affairs for the nation tarot reading. So while that is getting ready to happen, I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. So I'll be back here in just a moment.
Take a bathroom break. And also, I'll get the divining rods, because I want to ask the divining rods about Raisin Balls Bernie Sanders. Hold on, people. Okay, people, I'm back. While I'm waiting for Damien the Wolf Owens, because he is going to do the one and only, the State of the Union tarot card reading, and I got out my copper divining rods, because I'm going to ask some questions after he finishes with the tarot card readings, State of the Union. All right, little Jew's heart. All right. Maybe I have time for a couple questions. Copper divining rods. You feel like answering heavy-duty political 2020 campaign questions during this live stream show? Oh, yes. Do you think Raisin Balls Bernie Sanders has a specific, very shrewd plan for 2020 by backing off of the campaign, but yet keeping himself on the ballot like he claims? Yes. Does Bernie Sanders plan on keeping himself on the ballot as a way of holding Joe Biden accountable to see how progressive he is? Yes. Is this a way of holding Joe Biden's feet to the fire by keeping himself on the ballot, Bernie Sanders? Yes. Will Bernie Sanders live up to his bargain and keep himself on the ballot all the way until November 2020? Yes. So Bernie Sanders is not going to capitulate this time like he did in 2016. No, he's not. In 2016, he really did capitulate like a coward. Do you think so? Yeah. Yeah. Did Barack Obama try to influence Bernie Sanders in 2016? Yes. Is it true that Barack Obama tried to influence Bernie Sanders by talking to him privately this year? Yes. Is it because Barack Obama is a corporate whore and a control freak and has to stick his Pinocchio nose in the campaign? Yes. But Bernie Sanders, you believe, has more courage this year than in 2016? Yes. All right. I'm going to give you a break, a little rest there, copper divining rods, because Damien Owens has returned. The copper divining rod says that Sanders is being shrewd by keeping himself on the ballot. So
Okay.
to hold Joe Biden's feet to the fire and see what direction Joe Biden goes. So, all right, I asked more, at least like more than a half a dozen questions. So I'll give the divining rods a little rest. I played the Jew's harp, so I entertained people also. So now it's time for the State of the Union Tarot card reading by Damien the Wolf Owens.
Yes, got the cards in hand. So now it is time for the shuffle. Yes, time for the shuffling of the cards. So let's see how things are going. Well, while I'm shuffling the cards, there was also one thing I forgot to point out is that I've been keeping up to date with the news, and I've been keeping up with statistics and numbers, but still the amount of people that are dying just across the board of natural and unnatural causes is still right where it's always been. And people that are dying of just other things besides the virus, the deaths are not increasing and they're not decreasing, they're staying the same across the board. And actually, in fact, now there are more births than deaths. So, for once in a long while, there are more people being born than there are dying. So,
Interesting.
looking at the actual numbers, just this year alone globally, over 16 million people have died. That's of all natural and unnatural reasons of death. But then yet, today, just in today alone, over 150,000 people were born across the world.
Yeah. I mean, like that death counter I showed you from the
Mm-hmm.
Caverns of Blood website. I mean, there people are dropping dead every year from all sorts of things. Who has a brain hemorrhage or something, or who has this, or who has that, and then if you're from a third world country or worse, one of the African countries, there's all kinds of afflictions for people that don't live in sanitary environments, and or they're impoverished. I mean, of course, the U.S. media said that uh, blacks are victims of corona. It said Hispanics and blacks are the first victims of coronavirus because their health care sucks. They usually have just Medicaid and charity care at the hospital, and I mean, if you're poor, your health care is going to be the worst. This is one of the reasons why Bernie Sanders pushes for a single-payer universal Medicare for all as a right, as a human right. And the same thing goes for public college universities. Regardless what eco-socio, regardless if you're a poor child, a middle-class child, or some hoity-toity rich kid, if you have a high IQ and you're an intelligent, child with ability, you should not be deprived of a college education, regardless where you're from. Well,
Yep.
these are things that Sanders uh, will have to hold Biden accountable for by keeping himself on the ballot. So anyway, now it's time for the State of the Union tarot card reading.
Yep. The cards are shuffled and they are laid out, and bada bing, bada boom. Okay. Let me just get my um, headphone jack out of the way so we can now see the cards. Okay, so the first card we have is the 10 of Swords. So this actually represents the way that America is right now. So first card we have 10 of Swords. So anytime a 10 shows up, it's a completion of some sort. And in this case, it's the swords. Right now, America is feeling like it's either defeated or it's just giving up and just letting things go wherever things go at this point. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But just whatever happens, happens. All right. So that reaffirms what I've said about what we see here with our typical past, present, future, and outcome. So the past is the Five of Pentacles, which indicates a midway point through a struggle, but in this case, it's a struggle of finances, because right now, our debt is so out of control, it's not even funny. With this recent stimulus package that was passed, where we basically racked up another $2 trillion in debt, try to restimulate the economy as a result of this virus outbreak, it's really not going to do anything because there's other underlying issues at play here besides just our debt. It's also playing a big factor, as in like the wage situation, to where people are being exploited to the point to where they can't even really keep their heads above water now. That the money we're being paid is not really worth a damn, and the actual buying power of what money we have is terrible. So the stimulus package is not going to do anything. It's just going to rack up more debt. Is it really going to cause inflation? No, it's not going to cause inflation, but it's not going to affect the fact that people are being exploited. They're not being paid the wages that they're already being paid, and the buying power of said wages is shit. So that reaffirms what I've been saying about that. So this indicates what we've been trying to do in the past has not worked, and what we're doing right now, it's not going to work. But something interesting is going on right now because we have the Six of Cups. Now, the five follows the six. So now we've gone past the midway point, and we're into the downslope, as some people would say. This right here indicates that um, people are coming to their senses and they're being more rational and logical, particularly in the emotions category. That now we're seeing something going on that is being emotionally reassuring, but it's coming from emotional generosity, as in the ability to keep people's emotions in check. And that's where we're sitting at right now, is emotional generosity is springing forth to the Ten of Cups. Now, the Ten of Cups here in the future, or the Ten of Pentacles, sorry, is going to be very interesting as to how this outcome is going to manifest. Because when I did the coronavirus tarot reading to give the coronavirus an actual face for what it really was, and the cards exposed that it's not what it says it is. That it's not this virus that's so deadly and it's killing so many people, and that, all this fear and hysteria is just nonsense. This was the card that it represented, and now it's back, but in a different position. It's here because the stimulus package is not going to do anything here, but then yet something along the way in terms of finance is going to stabilize something out. Now, whether that means people going back to work and then life getting back to normal as what's considered normal here in America, that is what this is indicating more of. That once we get people back to work and the economy gets back to the norm, that things are going to be all right. And that also is further reaffirmed by the outcome, the Temperance card. Now, the Temperance card is card number 14 out of the major arcana. It follows the Death card, but it's before the Tower card. So, this indicates that the coronavirus has changed not only the US, but it has changed the world. Now, how exactly has it changed the world? Um, it changed the world by the death card, but what is looming next is in the towers. So we'll do a future reading to see if the tower shows up in this place or if something else pops up. So now let's look at our connections to see, how all this came to fruition. Okay, so we have now the Ace of Wands as our connection for the past to the present. So with this Ace of Wands, we see that emotions are getting in check and that people are seeing things for what they really are, that we have a beginning for a new desire. Now, what exactly is this new desire, you might ask? Well, seeing how the system does not work financially, that all the efforts that have been made so far are not working, and that now things are really coming to a front, the real sinister agenda behind things is coming to a forefront, and that people are now getting clarity and answers behind everything. It's now coming to fruition as a result of this, the Ace of Wands. All right, so now let's look at the connection between the present and the future. This is going to be very interesting because we have the King of Swords. So when the King of Swords shows up, it's a completion of the Swords category to go back to the Ace. So we're nearing a completion in terms of swords because now, since the veil has been lifted and that the wool cannot really be pulled over people's eyes anymore, that now maybe, just maybe, there's some kind of awakening in the American and global consciousness. Now, what exactly it is, I don't exactly know, but the fact that it's indicated by the Ten of Pentacles, by the economy being reopened, people going back to work, and people earning paychecks again, the norm, maybe that is coming to this, but still, there is a connection here, and the King of Swords, that's only just one aspect. Now, what this is has really yet to be determined because right now we're in the present. The future hasn't happened 100% yet, and the outcome is only just based on what is going on at the moment. So this is going to change, but it's going to change because of this card here. This we'll see in due time. Now, the connection between the future and the outcome. We have a major arcana connection here, the card of justice. So this reaffirms that something is going to happen, but it's going to be a resolution. So this indicates that it's going to be some sort of legal resolution, or things are just going to resolve themselves on their own. So these two we're going to keep in mind, but definitely these two are going to be playing a role in the future as well as the final outcome. But right now, they're both playing influential roles, same with these. So definitely, I'm seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. Something is going to resolve out of this. Now, what is exactly? Is it going to be the return of the norm? Is it going to be something different? So far, it's indicating that it's just going back to the norm, but time will tell. So that's the reading on this one. But I do have a special treat for you all, and that is I'm going to do an actual tarot card reading on the 5G and the coronavirus connection. So since I did a actual reading on the coronavirus itself, and the card showed exactly what it is, that it's not what it says it is, let's see if the cards say that there is a connection or there isn't any connection. So time to put these cards back into the deck, and it's time for a reshuffle. So I don't know what's going to show up in this next one. Could be anything, really.
Yeah, well, we haven't been around in a couple of weeks, so I guess what the hell? Why not give them a little extra treat?
Yeah.
You know, um, divining rods. Do you foresee anything promising coming out of big pharma in very soon concerning this pandemic we're having? Yes. Is this the malaria drug? No. Wait a minute. No. Is this by any chance? Is this the new vaccine I'm hearing about coming from Roche? Yeah. Yes. So they're coming out with a vaccine while the United States is supposedly hitting its peak in the pandemic. Is this correct? Yes. Oh, interesting. So the peak in the pandemic, the worst that the United States could be experiencing, then Big Pharma will come out with a vaccine. Is this your estimation, Divining Rods? Yes. Interesting. Like Jesse Ventura always said, just follow the money trail. Will the lockdown and isolation that's going on now, will it start to cause the virus to die concerning all the healthy people with no underlying illnesses? Will the curve start to flatten out soon? Yes. Okay, so the peak is coming very soon in this so-called pandemic, is what you're trying to tell me. Yes, the peak is coming very soon. Yeah, I know the doctors are now saying that everyone should wear a mask or a folded bandana. Are they just saying that everyone should wear a mask now just to like cover their asses? Yes. Yeah, because they were saying that only those that are infected should wear a mask. Now they're saying everyone should wear a mask. There are people that are not practicing social distancing in the worst areas, which just happen to be New York City and New Jersey. Are these areas the worst because the people are stubborn assholes by nature? Yes. Oh, I thought so. So, all right. So Damien Owens has reached, I can tell because I don't hear the noise anymore. Damien Owens has reshuffled his deck, and now you're going to get the extra tarot card reading.
Yep.
With the connection.
So.
Yes.
Oh, well, what was you going to say?
The connection, it was supposed to be about the coronavirus connection with something.
5G.
5G, that's it. The 5G coronavirus connection.
Well, I was not expecting this from the cards. And in fact, 2 cards from the previous reading have shown up in different positions. So now let's flip. Oh boy. So this I most definitely was not expecting. So again, the connection between 5G and coronavirus. So first, we have the representation card of the actual coronavirus and 5G. Well, guess what? This is indicated by the Two of Cups, which means the two of them are having some kind of relationship between the two. And in fact, it seems to be a joining together of the relationship of the two. So, uh, I don't really know about this. This is definitely looking suspect. This is not looking good, to say the least. Okay, so the past, indicated by the Fool card. So there has definitely been a lot of foolishness and a lot of idiocracy in terms of how all of this has transpired and is still transpiring to this day. Now, where this is taking hold is it's taking threshold because of people's naivety and gullibility and then venturing into the unknown, but primarily people being naive and gullible because they're believing anything and everything they're being told about this coronavirus. Especially when they say people are dropping dead left and right, like they're dropping like flies, but then yet they're not actually looking at the real statistics about the actual virus itself on how it's supposed to have killed so many people, but then yet it doesn't really pale in comparison to other natural and unnatural causes of death. Now, the present right here, the the Ten of Swords, it was up here. Now it's here. So now it's being represented by the current present. Now Americans, they've given up. They've given up as in they're just going to just go with the flow, do whatever because they're just so tired of the bullshit that they're being fed from all directions, and they're just like whatever happens just happens. Lethargy and apathy has really kicked in. Now, the Hierophant. This is very interesting because it's here in the future card because he represents society in the religious and also political sense. So now that 5G has come out and people are definitely being concerned about this new technology being rolled out and how we talked about the radiation sickness mimicking other things, this is not looking very good for the future. Because, like I said, he indicates religion and also politics of society. So the future is assuring to a certain point, but nothing really good is going to be coming out of it, as shown by the Queen of Pentacles. In this sense, the Queen of Pentacles, you would think she represents good, but she's not. By these here, this is not representing anything good. In fact, this is representing the exact opposite. This is actually representing something evil. Because as you see, she's holding the pentacle and looking at it, gazing at it, staring at it. So which means profit is going to be made, and yet things are going to get progressively worse because of people just being naive and gullible, just taking the whatever happens, happens approach, and then just letting things go wherever they may go. Nothing good is really going to spawn out of it. Now, the connections. Okay, first we have the Three of Wands by the past and the present connection. So this is the coming together of ideas. And he's looking at, the open world, so to speak. he's decided to make up his mind. He's looked at both, and he's just going to go out in the world and see what happens. Well, the way this has been handled, it's been handled completely wrong for a virus epidemic. Not necessarily because of the lack of not doing anything, but just how this whole entire thing has manifested. Like people doing the social distancing and just trying to live lives normally, despite the fact that the social distancing has not really done anything. The lockdowns really didn't do anything. This quarantinement has not really done anything except just really wear down people's psychological health. That while they're saying, "Oh yeah, this lockdown, it's great. It's doing this, it's doing that. It's going to help defeat this virus," not so fast. What in fact it's doing is it's wearing down people's psychological health because they're being cooped up like animals in a pen, and human beings are not designed to be that way. Human beings are very social and interactive creatures. So you're basically trading off one thing for another. And I'll tell you right now, this is going to have a much more adverse effect by wearing down people's psychological health than by taking a risk with physiological health. Because if this virus can be so easily defeated by just practicing sanitary conditions, meaning, showering, brushing your teeth, washing your hands, making sure they're sanitized, and just making sure you're living a healthy life and bulking up on your vitamins and supplements. And by one mineral getting into this virus to defeat it, then what really is the justification for, doing all of this when it's really doing more harm than it is good? So that's being indicated right here that the fear and hysteria, coupled with the actions that's going on, people are just so fed up and they're just so lethargic and apathetic that they're just, doing whatever. If they die, they die. If they live, whatever. So, right here we have the connection card between the present and the future. So, we have the star. Now, the star follows the, I'm trying to think, what is, it's number 17. I drew a blank. I just had a brain fart for what was before the star. But what's indicating here is that there is going to be a rebirth to a certain point to where people are going to be more conscious and more aware of things. Now, whether that be through education or through other means, we'll see. But definitely, it's going to be status quo, and there's either going to be more control by the capitalist class or something else is going to happen. We'll see. But then yet, the good old King of Swords is back for the connection between the future and the outcome. So what we're seeing here is it is going to resolve itself, but how? And based on just these two alone and how this has progressed and how things have been, I wouldn't necessarily rule out that really things do not go back to normal, that yes, people might go back to work and the economy restarts, but I don't really see any kind of loosening on the middle class or the working class or anything, that they're going to try to still maintain control over people while at the same time making money. So at the end of the day, it's going to be business as usual, but there's going to be a worse outcome. Now, how does that really connect? It's going to be connected through that technology. That despite the fact that this has some kind of connection, possibly through radiation sickness, that they're still going to just roll it out anyway, despite the fact that there are genuine causes of concern and that this could actually be a potential weapon if the right person decides to weaponize it, or the wrong person, depending on how you want to look at it. this is not looking good. So I foresee that really it's not going to get all that better. That even, if we were to go back to work, it's just not going to be the same. To where you go back to work, back to school, what have you. So I see probably some awakening to where people are more aware of what's going on, but are they really going to do anything? Probably not. And despite what they might do, it's either going to have no effect at all or very minimal effects where it might as well just be like, okay, why did I even bother in the first place? So, conclusion, 5G has a connection. It is related to this virus somehow, and what they have done, it's done more harm than good. So, something is going to come out of it, but it's probably just going to be status quo where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And will these draconian measures stay in, like what they've done by doing these lockdowns and quarantines? It might loosen up, it might not, but I don't really see anything good coming out of this. So we'll see what happens, and that's the end of the reading.
Well, the folks definitely got a tremendous doubleheader this week. You got two for the price of one. You got a double State of the Union tarot card reading, and said during the end reminds me of what the copper divining rods agreed to in terms of big pharma suddenly coming out with a vaccine. Right after the peak of the pandemic, so to speak. Like before the supposed curve starts to flatten out, when the peak of the pandemic is supposed to be happening now or very soon, and the divining rod said that's when big pharma is going to suddenly come out with a vaccine or which is what they're working on now. And supposedly the quinine, I'm not the quinine, the malaria drug is not suitable for everyone because plus a lot of people that have lupus, mostly women, are affected by lupus. It's a horrible autoimmune disease. A lot of lupus patients depend on that malaria drug. So that, together with it not really being suitable for everyone, this is probably the reason why Dr. Fauci and the FDA is not going full steam ahead with it. But Dr. Eric Berg explains as he draws the whole scenario on how this drug penetrates the virus with zinc. Okay, now what kind of a racket is going to take place when Big Pharma comes out with a corona vaccine? I don't even have to answer that question.
Yeah, as feared and panicked as people are, they will line up by the numbers to take this vaccine. But then, yet, when you throw out that outcome of what this vaccine could be, it could be four things: placebos, the cure, the real virus outbreak, or something much, much worse. I would laugh if all along it's a placebo vaccine and it just made people believe that they got better when in reality they weren't sick in the first place, like there really was no virus. I would be like, I
Well,
knew it all along.
a placebo means that the whole thing was a hoax.
Yeah.
That's
or yeah,
now, yeah, a real vaccine, like let's say the influenza vaccine is supposedly made inside of an egg yolk, and it's a dead facsimile of the influenza virus. It's a dead virus which has all of its parts intact, but it's not alive. and I think the vaccines are grown in egg yolks.
Mm-hmm.
I think my doctor was explaining to me how it works.
Yeah, you got that, and then the cure, which I think is probably going to be the least likely of the outcome because the vaccines now are not the vaccines of what they were back in the day. Like the additives and stuff they put in vaccines, like particularly mercury.
Oh boy, toxic mercury.
Yeah, like mercury. Yeah, no. That's just going to be a straight up no. Because if they put mercury in the vaccine, forget it. That's going to cause something much worse than what they're trying to, make better. Now, the third one being the real virus outbreak. Well, it all depends upon how they would do this vaccine. Are they going to inject people with the dead version of the virus to where the immune system could recognize it, to where, it can go ahead and they would get the symptoms of the virus, but then yet the body would be able to recognize it and fight it off should round two of this ever happen? Now, the second scenario of the real virus outbreak, meaning people are injected with the live version of this virus, and that starts the real virus outbreak. So instead of being the cure, it breaks out into the actual real virus outbreak they've been trying to ram down our throats.
Yeah, so
then
the diabolic depopulation plan that was told to Jesse Ventura that the elitists want to do to cull the herd, so to speak. That would be by giving people something toxic, but we don't know at this
right.
point, and we don't know. I mean, we know about the old-fashioned viruses. They got the mumps, and you got the polio virus, and so on and so forth. What's the other one? Rubella, measles. Do they have a vaccine for measles? I don't even remember. I did.
Right.
I had chicken pox. I had measles. I had mumps. Of course, I got them from some kid in school, just like all kids catch it from. But
And then scenario 4, something much, much worse, which at this point could be anyone's imagination. With what all evil there is out there in the world, not that we're inherently evil, but just what evil that has manifested itself out there in the world, if they could make money off of it or do it just because they could, they'd do it. And that could be anyone's guess. Just use your imagination.
well, I know that based on why they took the FEMA camp show off the air of Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory, was that the doctor that used to treat politicians in Washington is hiding out in Central America because she's afraid now that she was told that the mainstream population, particularly the low-income section of the 98%, were using too much of their resources, meaning the elitists. So so the diabolical plan of culling the herd can come in many different forms, unfortunately. I had an argument with the True TV Facebook page. They cursed me out. I told them, you shouldn't call yourself True TV if you pulled the show Conspiracy Theory off the air. I think the words True TV is not accurate. Is not honest. So, somebody got on their high horse with me and actually cursed me out on Facebook.
Oh boy.
Somebody from True TV. I says, well, I'm being honest with you. You're calling yourself True TV and you're pulling a fantastic show off the air. But anyway, on a lighter note, did you ever get to download all those beer reviews that you had waiting in the wings?
Yeah, I'm gonna do the upload tonight because I'm running out of space in my video storage. So I uploaded one of them. I did the vanilla milk stout from Highland Brewing Company. I gave that one a 99 of 100, and I did a couple written reviews on my page. If I've had the beer before and I want to revisit it, or if it looks like it's worthy of a video review, I'm going to do a video review. But then, yet, if I am hesitant about doing a video on it, I do a written review because I did several written reviews on my page of the Guinness Draft Stout, which is their light stout that's nitro infused. I didn't really like that one. The body was too light. If I want a light body beer, I would just drink a just regular beer or a light beer. If I'm going to drink a stout, I at least want something that is, light to medium, has some body, some flavor, and some character. This was just boring and dull, and the nitro just it gave it this creaminess, but where the body is just so light and watery, it reminded me of like a very watered down, dark roasted, creamy coffee, and it just didn't set well with me. But I do have a couple others. I've done some video reviews for some craft and some macro brews. Now tonight, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. My wife bought me some flavored beer concoctions, like some Smirnoff combos. She got me like a black blackberry and raspberry
Oh,
Smirnoff, and a she got me like a Jack Daniel's fruit punch, and then like a Still Reserve Alloy Series flavored something or another. So I've got some stuff to do, and then I did the create your own 6 pack, and I one of the ones that I tried out of that one was a Scottish ale called Einstock. It's spelled EIN, then ST, then the O's got the two little dots above it, and then K. It was a Scottish ale that was dark roast with Icelandic barley malt and had I think like angelica root in it.
oh
Oh
wow.
no,
But that sounds fascinating. Wow.
it sounds fascinating, but the taste was not fascinating.
Maybe it was the Angelica root.
I mean, it had a lot of advertisement on it. I still have the bottle in there, but I'm probably not going to give that one. I didn't give that one a great review, so uh, that's just the thing with craft beers and just drinking a macro or just drinking beer in general. You just you drink them and you just call them as you see them.
I mean, the Icelandic barley malt sounds great, but it could have been the Angelica root. But yeah, you call them like you see them. That's exactly right. Now the Smirnoff, is that still called Smirnoff Ice?
I think this is Smirnoff Ice. It's a 8%er, so it might be, it might not be. Now, a lot of your flavored beverages, they call them either flavored malt liquor, flavored ale, or malt beverage. So what they do is they make it like they're making a beer. So you have your malt base and you have your grain base, but it's done a little bit differently as compared to just regular old beer. So what they do is they mash it and brew it another particular way, and they add certified colors as well as natural and artificial flavors in them. So yes, it can be called beer because it's got the ingredients to make a beer base, but it just cannot be called like lager or ale because it has the natural and artificial colors and the natural and artificial flavors they put in them per USDA regulation. Because if you go on the ATF's website as well as the FDA's website and you try to read the regulations as to what can or cannot have these, and then what can be disclosed, what cannot be disclosed, what has to be disclosed, it's just a big regulatory mess trying to navigate all the way through it.
Okay. Well, you definitely are going to end up with a lot of reviews. You're probably going to catch up to or surpass all the so-called beer snobs that are out there on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
You might just surpass them in the amount of reviews. The only people, there's only two people that have a huge hard liquor collection, uh, mostly whiskeys, predominantly. One is a man that I I like and admire very much, the Whiskey Scout of
Oh yeah, I've heard of
Kansas.
them.
He knows his shit. He did an Irish whiskey called Whistlers, but
Ooh,
he just happened to have the cream version of Whistlers. He
ooh.
forgot all about it. He went and took it out the back. It was the Whistlers came in a pretty big bottle, and the cream version came in the same size bottle, much larger than Bailey's Irish Cream, much larger, huge bottle, and it was Whistler's Irish Cream whiskey. And he said he puts it in his coffee, and what he likes about it is that it's not nearly as sweet as the Bailey's Irish Cream.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the other person with the tremendous hard liquor collection would be Ronald J. Theriot, uh,
Mm-hmm.
because for some reason in Louisiana, there's a lot of bargains to be found.
Yeah, because Louisiana has regulations to where you can sell beer, wine, and liquor in a place that sells alcohol, which I've never understood exactly why you have to have, all three of them to not be sold in the same area. Although they could, but in most places they just don't, because it's just like, okay, even if you were to separate it and you had beer and wine in grocery stores, and then you had liquor dedicated to just liquor stores, at the end of the day you're still paying all the taxes to the appropriate local, state, as well as federal authorities. So what really is the reason for this separation?
Yeah, doesn't make
I think
any
it'd be kind of cool. I think it'd be kind of cool to go to the grocery store, because a lot of grocery stores around here, they have huge beer and wine selections. So liquor stores around here, well, we call them package stores or liquor stores. They don't have a big wine or beer selection, because a lot of grocery stores already have that. So if you want a big selection of liquor, you just go to a package store, because that's what they specialize in, selling liquor, and they're going to have way more selections.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't get over how big the liquor department was in the Walmarts in Baja, Mexico. And some people in the deep South say that the Walmarts there have liquor departments too.
Mm-hmm.
In some areas. I mean, I was like, I mean, I'm looking at forklift operators, riding around with pallets of hard liquor in Mexico. I'm like, damn, this is an impressive Walmart down here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they must be happy, that the job openings in these WalMarts are quite ample.
Mm-hmm.
They were big. It was a huge liquor department. But
Yeah, I can believe that, down there in Baja, Mexico.
yeah, I mean, I know Jay did a review on a beer that I'm very unimpressed with, called Tecate from northern Baja. Actually, they don't even make it in the city of Tecate anymore. They make it somewhere else.
Hmm.
Tasted like seltzer water. It was like extremely weak.
Yeah, I've had Tecate. I've had Tecate. I've had Tecate Light, and I've been trying to find the Tecate Titanium, but I've had no such luck. But I do have a beer in there of a Pacifico.
I've had Pacifico. I had Sol. But we're not talking about the higher quality stuff like the Dos Equis and the Modelos. We're talking about the cheapo Mexican beers. Yeah, I've had all of them. Yeah, Pacifico wasn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it was like Pacifico, but I thought Pacifico was better. I think Sol is the company that put the chili pepper, put the hot sauce in the beer.
Mm,
One of them has a beer with hot sauce.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. They're called chiladas or chiladas or something like that, where you take beer and then you put like some kind of tomato sauce or like hot sauce in it. I've had beers like that. I think they're disgusting.
Yeah, when I was in San Diego and Baja with my ex, she had cases of Clamato, and she kept forcing it on me. I said, "Why are you making me drink so much Clamato?" She says, "Oh, you know, it has essence of seafood in it. It makes a man horny." I says, "Okay, I get the message." You know,
So she was.
I know tomatoes are good for men because of lycopene,
Mm-hmm.
the carotenoid that makes tomatoes red is very good for the man's prostate. That I know.
Right.
But the whole world always says that seafood does that to men. And then I found out why. Because seafood is high in zinc and
Oh.
selenium, mostly zinc. You know, we're talking about shellfish.
And the only thing seafood wise I eat is maybe pink salmon or salmon as some people call it, and shrimp. That's really all I eat in terms of seafood.
You don't get into the clams and oysters
Mm-mm.
and calamaris and such.
Nah, I tried fried calamari at a Japanese restaurant one time, and I didn't like it because it wasn't a bad flavor, but when I review food or drinks, I look primarily for two things. How does it taste, and how does it present itself on the taste palate in terms of texture? Well, I try to take both into account, and it's not that it tasted bad. It's just the texture. It reminded me of if you've ever gone to a restaurant and you get some onion rings that are not well cooked and they're still like really mushy. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. Just really mushy, undercooked onion rings.
Yeah, well, sometimes what they do is they don't cook. Um, well, calamari, shrimp, um, oysters, clams. If they overcook them, they get rubbery.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, you can't undercook them either. Same thing like with scallops. You know, it has to be cooked fast. Now being
Mm-hmm.
that you're in Tennessee, the thing that comes to mind is deep fried catfish fillets,
Some places have them, yeah.
like breaded batter dipped catfish fillets. They're quite good. I've had them with what they call hush puppies, which is made of corn.
Mm-hmm. Basically, fried breaded bread is what hush puppies are.
Well, they were it was cornmeal. It was, but it had like chopped onions and pepper, and you know it had some kick to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it had some kick to it. I mean, uh, I've had hush puppies in a fast food restaurant that gave me terrible heartburn for the simple reason is that the oil was either dirty or it wasn't hot enough. You see,
Mm-hmm.
when you lower food into fat, it has to be really hot because otherwise the food is greasy.
Yeah. And then also here in the South, if it can be breaded and deep fried, we'd eat it probably. if you can think of it, if it can be breaded and deep fried, we would eat it.
Well,
Um,
yeah, when the Spanish make chicharron, they deep fry that pork belly in lard, in the same fat that the pork belly had.
mhm,
And when I eat it that way, I never get sick. I never
right.
ever got heartburn from lard, from something fried in lard.
Mhm.
Never.
Well, great news. So I've been watching my weight here lately. I'm now down to 230 pounds.
And I bet you're on a ketogenic kind of an Atkins program where you eat a lot of protein and your your white your white flour and sugar's probably down. Your veggies and salads are probably way up.
Mhm. Well, yes and no. So what I decided to do was I'm just eating a more balanced, moderated diet. I'm watching more of portions, and for every bad thing I eat, I try to incorporate one good thing. So if I eat some chips, I at least try to have some lean meat to go with it. So like some grilled or baked chicken instead of fried chicken to go with the chips, or if I have a sandwich with a particular type of bread on it, because I like a lot of meat on my sandwiches. So if
Yeah,
it's got ham, I'm sorry, what was that?
no, so do I. Yeah, I don't want a space sandwich. I want I like a big wad of meat. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, I like different meats on sandwiches. I like ham, I like turkey, roast beef, chicken, you name it. If it can go on a sandwich, I'll eat it. But if I have a sandwich which, has the refined carbs and the bread, then I try to make that my bread serving. So that way, if I have something else as a snack, I try not to have anything too high in carbs. So I'm moderating everything, but I'm not cutting anything. So if I have this, I make sure, okay, I had this, so I can't have any more than this. I got to find a substitute for this, so that way I keep everything in check.
now do the supermarkets buy you discount the rotisserie chickens towards the end of the day?
Um, Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Because like some nights we sell them like crazy. Other nights we don't. So it really all just depends. But what we do is at the end of the night with all the unused rotisserie chickens, we pull the skin off of the chickens, and then we pull off all the meat that we can. So we take off the wings, and then we'll take the leg quarters and we'll make sure that the thigh and the leg is still together. Then we take the skin off the front part, and then we peel off the breast, and then take out like the wishbones and any other bones, and then we reuse the meat in other things.
Make chicken salad.
Yeah, like chicken salad, or sometimes we'll take that particular meat and we'll cut it up and we'll make our own fried chicken out of it.
Oh. My vitamin order, for some reason, I've been getting my my vitamin order delivered on Sunday. So I got the Nature's Way Alive, one a day for men. I
Hmm.
got the male formula, Nature's Way Alive. It's higher end, but it's not too expensive. It's like I think it came to like $12 for 2 months, 12 or $13 for 2 months supply, and it's pretty good. And I ordered other things like vitamin C with rose hips,
Hmm.
because vitamin C is a natural antihistamine,
Hmm.
as well as being a tremendous immune system booster.
Yeah, if I have anything for breakfast, if I'm still up or we're up early, then if we go and get breakfast, I love to have orange juice, but I don't like orange juice with a lot of pulp in it. If it has some, I'm not going to complain. But if it's like overly pulpy, I don't like a lot of pulp in orange juice.
Well, a lot of fruit juices are starting to spike their product with vitamin C. Like it'll say 100% RDA per cup, which is 60 milligrams, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like you buy like store brand grape juice or cranberry juice or apple juice, you know, like now they have no sugar added fruit juice from concentrate, but I don't care. And then
Right.
it'll say 100% RDA per 8 ounces. That's 1 cup. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not bad. You drink, you have a couple of those. I mean, it's good that they're spiking it. I mean, the bad spike is when they used to take refined grain products that are supposed to contain whole grains, and
Mm-hmm.
they spike it with B complex, because when you take the bran and the germ out of the grain, you know, like when you look at a wheat berry, there's 3 parts to it. There's the bran, the germ, and the endosperm, which is the starchy part.
Right.
When they strip the germ and the bran off, and all you have is the starchy section, there's a lot of B vitamins that go to, you know, to whatever livestock is going to be eating at the other stuff, you know. So they used to spike it with B complex, but I always take a desiccated liver, which is with the multi, because the desiccated liver is from the livers of Argentine cattle that are fed, that are grass-fed cattle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And grass-fed cattle are very nutritious, the beef. So the liver is like a powerhouse. The liver of an animal is like a powerhouse of nutrition. So what they do is they take the fat and the water, they desiccate, which means dry the hell out of it, and then the powder they put it in capsules.
Mm-hmm.
So just to get a boost of natural iron, B complex, amino acids. There's a lot of unknown factors in liver, especially that liver. You know,
Mm-hmm.
It's like chickens. If your chickens are running around eating a wide variety of anything they feel like eating, the quality of the eggs and the meat are going to be like sky high. You know, compared to an animal that gets the same feed every day. You know,
Right. Right.
a human, you know, people are the same way. So I'll take the desiccated liver, I'll take the vitamin C and the multi.
Mm-hmm.
And, I take some super mega garlic oil capsules because my cholesterol is kind of high. I take a couple of those. So it's like 1,500 milligram garlic oil each. But, you know, they're not expensive supplements. They're very reasonable. And you get like months. You get like these big bottles for a low price. I get it from Swanson Vitamins.
Wow, that's actually pretty good. And I took up your suggestion on trying a couple meats. Last week I tried hot capicolo and I tried sweet capicolo just to see what I honestly thought of them.
I never had the sweet one.
I've tried both, and I would prefer the hot capicolo, but in all honesty, I don't really like them all that much. To me, they remind me so much of prosciutto. Like the overall taste is so much like prosciutto. It's very salty, but I don't like it because it's too chewy and it's too stringy and fatty, like a ribeye steak. That's why I don't eat ribeyes.
Yeah, and ribeyes are supposed to be great steaks too.
Yeah, I don't like ribeye.
I tell you one thing. When back in my hometown, when I used to go to the Polish neighborhood where they make all the sausages and cold cuts fresh, fresh ground. I'm telling you, there's a huge difference in store bought cold cuts and going to an ethnic market. It's like, holy crap, this flavor is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, but I mean, I'll eat like I'll eat liverwurst, for instance. Some people don't like it.
Oh, not me. Oh.
You won't eat liver. As a kid, I used to call it liver schmush, liver mush.
Mm-hmm. That's why I don't like it. So it reminds me if bologna and hot dog got together, made an embryo, and then made it very mushy. That's what liverwurst tasted like to me. Whenever I took that first bite, I was like, oh, it doesn't taste too bad. But the more I tasted it, I was like, ooh, oh no, 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 no.
Well, you know, bologna, believe it or not, bologna is an actual European cold cut. Bologna is not some cheap ass, roadkill that people think it is. No, the original bologna recipe, they use good parts of the pork, and they use a nice spice, series of spices, and it's awesome. I've had store made bologna. I'm sure if you get like a boar's head product.
We got it. We got bologna. We have a German bologna, which is pork and beef, and we have an all beef one from Boar's Head.
Yeah, Boar's Head's a pretty good company. Now there was one around here called Thuman's, which is mediocre, but Boar's Head is top of the line.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, all the hams are great. I mean, I haven't really had a ham I didn't like. I really like them all. I mean, I like smoked turkey breasts.
Mm-hmm.
I even used to eat that friggin' luncheon meat. It was like Spam.
Oh.
Or turkey roll. Turkey roll. I said, Ma, this is not that good. Turkey roll. She goes, it's not that bad. It was made by Weaver company called Weaver back in the day. Yeah, it was chicken roll, turkey roll. Now the luncheon meat. The luncheon meat was just a bunch of God knows what, patéed and formed into a loaf.
Yep, that's what Spam is.
And the Hawaiians, don't ask me why they love it so much, but now there's a company called Aldi's. Actually, the same family owns Trader Joe's. They have a store made Spam that they don't call Spam. It's called luncheon meat, but it's made in Denmark. And when you read the ingredients on the can, you can understand what they are. There's not many of them. It's like all natural, simple ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually the difference between that and Spam is it's not as fatty. It's lean.
Yeah.
It's leaner,
Yeah, and then I've tried many of the Boar's Head meats. I've tried their different hams, turkeys, chickens, as well as roast beefs. So out of the ones I've tried for the meats, all the hams I've tried, I liked. Even the 42% reduced sodium ham. Believe it or not, I thought it was going to taste terrible. But in all honesty, it wasn't all that bad. You got more of the regular ham taste out of it. But all the hams I had were not all that bad. Then for the turkeys, my personal favorite is their Cajun turkey breast. Oh man.
Oh, that
stuff was so good. Then for the chickens, I loved their Ishiban teriyaki and the some kind of curry one that they had. My favorite was the curry. It had the curry taste, just it wasn't spicy. So out of the roast beefs, I loved the London broil. I mean, it was so juicy and savory, and it was just, oh man, it was so
Oh,
good.
are we talking about Boar's Head products? Strictly?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Now, do they have an Italian roast beef?
Italian roast beef. Not to my knowledge. I know we have like prosciutto, capicola, and a few others.
Did you ever have Did you ever have an Italian version of bologna called olive loaf?
Yeah, we got olive loaf. I tried a little sample of it. Oh, no.
Like olives?
Nope. Not really.
I had an ex girlfriend who despised olives, and every one of them hated what I love, anchovies.
Oh no,
No,
no.
you know what they called them? They called them slugs. They said that I was putting slugs on my pizza.
Yeah, I've tried anchovies. Just the smell alone just made me. Oh.
Look, I spent a lot of years in the fish market business, so I'm like a sea lion. I could eat sardines with the bones and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a sea lion, you know. See, like, well, I couldn't eat the bones off of freshwater fish because they're too hard. Like, you know, Whiskey Scout, he goes freshwater fishing, but he said Tennessee has many more lakes for great fishing
Oh yeah,
than
and
Kansas.
with that. Oh yeah, I can understand why, because the plains, you're not going to have a lot of stuff out there. It's just going to be rolling grassland. But then yet that's also Tornado Alley. Now the lakes here in Tennessee, they're all fresh water. There's no saltwater lakes here because we're a landlocked state.
You're landlocked.
And yeah, we're landlocked, so we're not going to get any saltwater lakes. But um, here where it's been raining, the creeks and the rivers and the lakes are all going to be up. So this summer is going to be an excellent fishing season. I can tell already.
And I bet they stock all their primary lakes too. You know, crappie, walleye, bluegill, chain pickerel, largemouth and smallmouth bass. Maybe northern pike. I don't know, or muskie.
They might make their way down because the big river that runs through Tennessee and also Virginia is called the Holston River. So there might be some stuff that comes down here into Tennessee. I mean, we get a lot of everything, but not to change the subject too much, but still getting back to Boar's Head. I've tried all their different cheeses as well. Anything Swiss, forget it. I don't like anything Swiss, but my personal favorite,
You like Munster?
the Munster to me didn't really have a lot of taste. It just kind of was more or less like if you wanted to just throw some cheese without really affecting the flavor on something, that's for Munster. And I also keep making a joke for people that it's Fred Munster's favorite cheese.
Yeah, or Herman Munster. No, Munster is a very creamy, almost like Land O'Lakes American. It's a very creamy, like a German mozzarella.
Okay.
Like, you know, it's a good melting cheese.
Okay.
You like provolone?
Provolone is okay. I just don't really like the smell of provolone, but the taste isn't bad.
Yeah. I won't eat Velveeta or Cheese Whiz. That, to me, that's not real cheese. That's processed cheese.
Right. And then my personal favorites is either the Beechwood smoked Wisconsin cheddar, or the three pepper Colby Jack.
Oh, Monterey Jack is great on a quesadilla. If you buy like a stack of corn tortillas and keep it in the freezer, like I have in the freezer, I get the big stack. You make quesadillas. You take two at a time. Put your favorite hot sauce and or salsa on the bottom. Put the cheese on top of the salsa and hot sauce. This way, and then put the other half of the tortilla. This way, when it melts, it seals in. The cheese seals in all that salsa and hot sauce.
Oh yeah.
Then you just flip it. Now you have a quesadilla.
Oh yeah. I love quesadillas. When I go to a Mexican restaurant, I love to get the cheese and salsa because what I'll do is I'll mix the cheese and salsa together, and then I'll dip my quesadillas in it with a little sour cream. Oh man, that is delicious.
You know what I miss? The son of a bitches, they stopped doing it. There was a small family-owned Mexican restaurant not far from my hometown. Actually, it was right across the street from the county courthouse. It was called Il Rancho.
Oh, El Ranchero? Yeah, I think we have one here.
No, not Il Rancho. It was me. I think it was Mi Rancho, which means my ranch, I think. It's something Rancho. All right. They had all-you-can-eat Mexican food every Wednesday for $10. And let me tell you, it was all the meat, the chicken, and the beef, and the pork, which they call carnitas. All the meat was marinated. It wasn't like tough or garbage. It was all good. And I stood there all night. I says, keep them coming. Tacos, everything, quesadillas, enchiladas. Keep it. And I even love their buffalo wings, their hot wings.
Mm-hmm.
I was in heaven. Then all of a sudden, the heaven ended. Boom. No more all you can eat on Wednesday.
Oh.
But when I say they made big quesadillas, man, like if you let's say you ordered a pork quesadilla, which is to them is carnitas. It was big. The tacos were big. I mean, those were the days. I mean, nobody's doing that anymore. The old meats are like, I don't even know why we don't have a Golden Corral in our area. They used to advertise all the time.
Yeah, I feel bad for the people working in all these restaurants. I mean, here in Tennessee, I think they've pushed as far as the government's going to push. I think the governor has realized he's overstepped his bounds and that he's pushed things a little too far because now the stay-at-home order, no one's abiding by it because it's an executive order. An executive order has zero obligation to really be followed by not only citizens but law enforcement as well as any military personnel. Now, the restaurants are still being allowed to stay open, but you can still go into the restaurants and you can dine. You can't necessarily like dine in, but you can go in and get your food and carry it out. Same thing with drive-through. But as a result of the state of emergency, by these executive orders, they cannot allow any seating, even if it's just like if they have some benches outside or they might have some outside tables in a public space. They're not allowing that, and I feel sorry for them because not everyone wants to just go in, get their food, and bring it home. The part of the reason why they go out to a restaurant is they want to go out, they want to have a sit down meal either by themselves or with their significant other or their family, and they want to take in, the ambience, the everything that there is about the restaurant.
You're talking about a normal life. You're talking about life as it was.
Yeah.
And over here is strictly car delivery, Grubhub and DoorDash.
Yeah, that's going pretty big here, but people are still going out and they're getting takeout and they're going through drive-throughs. But yeah, I can see why, because a lot of restaurants are losing a lot of business because they can't have the seating in. Well, that's what primarily people go to restaurants for. Because like right now, I've been telling my wife, I said, I've really, really been craving. I would love to go to Mean Garden and just have a nice sit down at the buffet and just pig out, or just go to Golden Corral and just have a pig out. Because here,
I miss that, man. I used to eat pretty good at those buffets.
yeah, and then some restaurants are even having to permanently close because of this. And the biggest one that's hitting is, I don't know if this particular chain is up where you live, but you ever heard of Beef O'Brady's? All right.
Regional, yeah.
Yeah, well, Beef O'Brady's, one of them over in Elizabethton, they were doing the delivery only, to where you couldn't just, come in, take your food, and leave. They had to shut down permanently. So this is having severe repercussions on even like the local small businesses, and I really feel sorry for them.
No, there's a lot of food industry businesses that are in deep shit. No, they're all the ones over here. They're hanging by a thread. It's like car delivery. That's it. That's all they have. No dining area allowed. No seating allowed. And I mean, for the people that deliver for DoorDash and Grubhub, they're really cranking. They're really
Yeah.
doing well. I mean, I go to I pick up the items from the pizzeria because it's around the block from me.
Mm-hmm.
It's around the block. I technically I can go to Duck King and but the workers, they live in Queens, New York. I ran into the owner and she says, you don't come anymore. I says, well, what do you want me to do? People are afraid nowadays. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. People here in Tennessee, they weren't afraid then. They're definitely not afraid now, because here's really all we've done, and it's working. The only thing we've done is we've been saying, adhere to personal hygiene, shower every day, brush your teeth every day, wash your hands every day, change your clothes every day. And places are literally dousing everything in sanitizer, hot soapy water with some bleach mixed in. So if there's even anything that is getting in these places, it's dying on contact.
Well,
Ain't no way you're going to get sick here.
they're probably wiping down all the counters, like with the bleach and disinfectant solution. They're wiping down everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you have disposable gloves or you use hand sanitizer, they say a simple bar of soap, as often as you can is even better than hand sanitizer.
Right. Something you should be doing every day. Something
Yeah.
you should be doing every day as is anyway.
But the bandana around the face is pretty important too, because you don't know who the hell, if the other person is infected or not, or they have droplets flying around, or
Right.
everybody seems to be keeping their distance good, but not everybody is complying with the mask.
I'm not wearing the mask. I know people around here are, but I'm not now. They did say at work, if we want to wear a mask, we can, but it's not mandatory. They do provide us with masks that we can wear, but me, I'm not. I did wear a mask at one point because I did have a compromised immune system, and I had really sensitive allergies, and I had a very sensitive nose, to where if I smelled anything, it would just flare up my sinuses really bad. Well, that went away, and just I got burned out on wearing masks ever since. And my wife and Wyatt wears them, but I mean, if they want to, fine. But me, I'm not.
Yeah. Well, I do it because I'm hoping that this curve flattens out, just in the nick of time, and hopefully it'll enough people would comply, and then we'll hear the news say, guess what? The curve is flattening out.
Apparently it already is flattening out. Like at this point, they're saying we peaked. That really the worst that's going to happen is here, and it's happening now. Now from here, it's a downward slope. So
when I say we could be peaking right now, the truth is we are peaking.
We have peaked. Now we're on the downward slope, apparently, because if you look at cases across the board, this is their own numbers. So over 1 million people around the world have been infected with the coronavirus. And then yet, if you look at the active versus already closed cases, they're saying 96% of the actual active cases of coronavirus is either asymptomatic or it's mild to moderate. That's 96%.
Right.
4%.
Right. And then when they say closed case, that means that the people tested negative.
Well, I'll get to that here in a minute. Now, what they're talking about is active, when people that are testing positive, that 96% of the active cases are either asymptomatic or mild to moderate. 96%. Only 4% that have actually tested positive are either serious or critical. Only 4%. That's it. Now, that's for the active cases that they're saying. Now, the closed cases, there has been a 80% success rate in terms of closed cases, to where they had the virus and they recovered. The other 20% is either they died or it's unknown, that they could not significantly rule the death as if it was the actual coronavirus itself. So if that's the case, that 96% of the cases are mild to asymptomatic, and only 4% are critical, and for the closed cases, 80% success rate globally, not just in the US, but globally, what really is the fear and hysteria about then?
Okay, so this projection that you're telling me right now is globally. Okay.
Yes, that's global. I saw it on the, I think it was like worldometer.com, because I was looking up the death counter, and it pulled up that as the website. But it also broke down other things like how many people are born, how many people have died, how much expenditure has been on this, for that, how much government has spent on healthcare, how much there is in terms of natural resources, all of these things.
Wow,
so it broke down a lot of stuff.
So all those extra tidbits are on the death counter page?
No, not the one you showed me. I was trying to find that one, but it took me to another one that was very different. I'll link it to you whenever we get off of here.
The one I posted was from cavernsofblood.com.
Oh, no wonder I couldn't find it, because this one just brought up worldometers.com, and it just gave more of a breakdown of everything else that's going on. But still,
well, cavernsofblood.com is a Halloween enthusiast website.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that death counter that shows you tick 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 tick, it shows it gives you like the details right to the second of who just croaked, and
Yeah, I'll have to go back and find that. But still, what I also found very interesting is how many people have died just this year alone in 2020. Over 16 million people. That is a much, much higher number in terms of how many people have actually died because of this coronavirus. But then yet, what I also found very ironic was just the number of suicides this year alone. Still way higher than the number of deaths as compared to coronavirus. And that's from people taking their own lives, not something else taking their lives. People taking their own lives.
Well,
well over 300,000 people.
look at I had a cousin Richie that was relatively young man that died from an overdose of opiates.
Oh, oh God. It's amazing what they classify as epidemics, but then yet they do absolutely nothing about it. Like, they're so quick to say, "Oh, we have an opioid epidemic," but then yet they really don't do anything about it. And in fact, it seems like on a big scale, there's a lackadaisical approach, but then yet states have legalized marijuana. They use that to tackle the opioid epidemic. And what is it showing? It's showing that all along marijuana was not the gateway drug. That in fact it is a cure to a lot of different things because they're treating alcoholism, they're treating opioid addiction, they're treating all sorts of things with marijuana, and also its recreational use and just the tax revenue it's bringing in, and how just so many things are dropping across the board. What they're saying about it is horseshit. It never has been the gateway drug, and it never will be the gateway drug.
What you're talking about, the right wingers' obsession with that reefer madness bullshit video, you know. Well, these are the same right wingers who created prohibition. I mean, talk about insanity.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched Reefer Madness, and a running gag, if you ever watch Reefer Madness, is to watch it while stoned on marijuana. And I did that. Oh dear God. I was like, people actually believe this shit. And then I realized it was the 1930s, back when people were really naive and gullible and stupid and believed anything. And then I quickly realized it's the same thing happening in 2011. Oh, same shit, different day.
Aside from the reefer madness insanity coming from the right wing, I mean, just the concept of making alcoholic beverages illegal is in itself more insane because I mean, men, women, children, they've been all consuming alcoholic beverages for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been a part of every civilization since the beginning of time. You know,
right.
I mean, beer was made by the ancient Egyptians thousands of years ago.
Oh yeah, and it looked much different as compared to what it does now. In fact, back in the day, it had a much different taste, and it was green.
Yeah, you know, like now mead, what the Vikings used to drink out of the big horn, that was like that was honey wine, pretty much, right? Wine, honey.
And some people who drink Still Reserve, like one of my favorite high alcohol beers, that's 8.1. Some people say it reminds them of mead, and I'm just like, how? How does this remind you of mead? To me, it just reminds me of just really strong, not watered down American beer.
Yeah, I've had mead before, and it was just a great tasting honey wine. It did not remind me of any beer or ale whatsoever. Now the good thing about, let's say, like IPAs, like if you were to start your company and you want to make an imperial IPA, my God, you could flavor it with so many different fruits. I mean, you could do your peach, which you like. You can try a Southern Delight persimmon. What's the tree that Jay has in his backyard? Loquats. He's got some loquat.
Right.
Loaded with these, like, they look like plums. But you know, I mean, that's a good thing about the IPA is it seems to take well to fruit flavorings and a fruit influence when you make an IPA. You can add more to it as compared to like a lager or well, a stout and a porter The only thing you can do with it is make a holiday version with like cinnamon and cocoa powder. That's about it. But and
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, and when you get off, I do want to tell you something once we log off of here.
Off the air.
Yeah, off the air.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. It has been a blockbuster holiday special, progressive discussions.
It has been.
Thank you, and you had a treat. You had
Oh, yeah.
a triple treat. You had 2 big tarot card readings, and you had a whole bunch of questions answered by the copper divining rods. Then you had lectures on all the headline subjects, or all the headline news subjects were covered by Damien the Wolf Owens. I mean, you really got spoiled today, you people. So thank you for joining us for Progressive Piranhas, Progressive Discussions, and this truly has been a holiday show. So take care.
It has been. Take care and stay safe.